It was a great trip south from Madrid to Granada in 1984 to see the magnificent Alhambra. We travelled with the tour group of the coach, which was ultimately headed for Gibraltar.
This is La Mancha, the country of Don Quixote. All Mediterranean countries when there is just a concentration and a wall around. Yeah? It goes back to the Greek mythology. Spain, after the Battle of Guadalete, yes, they first landed in Tariq, yeah, that was the leader of the Moors, Tariq, which is today's Tarifa. Considered to be one of the most important ones in this part of the world. And then later when the Moors were settling in Cordoba, the University of the Caliphate in Cordoba was considered to be one of the finest in Europe. Good financing. Yeah? And this is why then, 1927, it was the General de Rivera who took over, you know, in a putsch. That was the first putsch.
Morning stop, first one after leaving Madrid, on the way to Bayland for lunch. It's an old coaching station.
There's an excellent selection of local wines for sale, but of course a bit overpriced, but we bought them. Mostly good Spanish reds and some sherries and ports. This was a watering trough for the horses way back. But Marjorie clearly thought the excellent dry red was far better.
Privilege of speaking the world language number one, right? So you may expect a lot of people wherever you go to speak some English, right? To answer in some English. But still, if you go somewhere out into the little village here and you will approach some local, you know, speaking English, some only here in Spain, in Portugal, even worse, if you go into, let's say, some rural areas in Germany outside. Okay. Sitting on row number 2. This one. Pedro in the seating rotation system now. That's why I said mountain a road, because see, this is now the old road. We were coming on the highway, and that's the old road into Andalusia, Seville. Time of the year, no doubt.
Lunch stop at a very pleasant hotel in Belém. Lunch was a nice fresh salad with local olives and a ham roll with beautiful Parma ham and a cool cleansing ale to wash it down. One of the reasons for stopping in Belém was so that we could have a look at their wonderful gardens. Their flower culture here is quite renowned, and certainly it was beautiful to see. And of course, Marjorie really loved it. Apparently the soil and the climate here is absolutely ideal for flower growth. It certainly shows. And it was really nice to have a walk around the garden after lunch, and after quite a long time on the road before lunch.
Very classical, typical olive crops. How do they harvest the olive? Let's say for a commercial oil company, not necessarily producing only highest quality olive oil. They have the harvesting the oil crop, that one going into the oil production, is eventually still done by hand. The same for the olives on your table. You see the hors d'oeuvre table, when you get some olives at the bar with an aperitivo drink with a glass of wine or so. Now these, once they fall, immediately they could start getting moss. So therefore, let me say, generally speaking, you harvest in December. And then anything which is being harvested after December, because then the olives turn black. See, first they're always green, and the longer you... Well, remember, ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived in the southern province of Andalusia, picture of Spain. I mean, everybody has a few ideas about Spain, and if you haven't been in Spain before, you come to Andalusia, well, this is the place where you're supposed to find what you were thinking about. Because going up into some of the northern provinces, up into the land of the Basques, up into the Asturia, maybe even in Catalan, a lot of things, if you're talking about a bullfight or a famous flamenco show, they don't know what you're talking about. Eventually they don't even want to talk about it, because you also know that we still have some problems with the Basques, and they're okay. I mean, also here you understand that eventually the Catalans and also the Basques are not always too happy with the people down here in the south. Right here in Andalusia will never give up. He will fight to the end. He will always attack you. Rider sitting on the horse, well, it's dangerous. But the one who takes the biggest chance is the one sitting on the bull. Because once that horse has made it to make you fall off, the horse is running away. The bull isn't. The bull is coming back. And too bad for some of these ladies, but whoever was a favorite lady of the emperor, always been among the most loyal ones to the Catholic Church.
Our rather voluble tour guide spoke quite freely about the problems causing friction between the many different races within Spain, and especially the huge division between North and South. I'll let the tape run on quite a bit, because I do feel our tour guide has probably given us a pretty good description of the current divisions existing within Spain, and the conflict between North and South, especially the Basques of the North.
Remember the pomegranates, eventually further towards Malaga, remember we have oranges, lemons, how about figs? That is also highly appreciated. Figs, yes, figs. Yes, well, that is of course another highly appreciated fruit here, no question. With the Oriental style influence. Can you see that? I mean, a lot of these houses you can tell look a little bit like to also build the famous mosque of Rabat, which however was destroyed because of the earthquake of Lisbon in the 18th century, with the exception of the minaret tower, which Inquisitor Torquemada, who was a Dominican monk, who was monuments of these days, the only one which has survived, you all know, the novileras for flamenco dancing. Hey, look at them, see See the girls here. This is Andalusia. No, did you see that? They must have had a special procession here. There's music. Look here, another beauty. Oh, yeah. On the left, look here, aren't we lucky on a Sunday? See, the little girls. Oh, yes. All the way through the center anymore, so they are sending us around the city in order to get up to the Alhambra on this this is a brand new access road. First. Everybody here, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to introducing our local guide. You stay with him, and whenever you're
We are not in a hurry, eh?
The Alhambra is a Moorish castle and temple dating from the 9th century, when most of the Iberian Peninsula had been invaded by the Moors, coming across the Straits of Gibraltar from North Africa, and southern Spain remained under Islamic rule for many centuries.
In case somebody gets lost, remember, after the important nice garden, we have a nice garden everywhere you work. Then if you are tired, you can sit, but I will tell you where.
You guarantee you come back again?
No. Friendly.
We had a very nice young English-speaking guide, but sadly he was very quietly spoken, and we really couldn't hear very much at all of what he was telling us about the history of this wonderful Alhambra. The wonders of the Alhambra really were there to see and didn't need very much description.
What I mean, they were local people with the Muslim religion. The last one, please, in our family. And put the finger on the last and you can get the picture. Also, not at least 20% that were changed many years ago. I mean, 16th century, 18th.
There was remarkably fine detail in the construction of archways and ceiling, and frankly, as an engineer, I did wonder how on earth did they do it. But obviously, a great deal of handwork was involved in those earlier days of construction. But you really must marvel at it. Imagine, for instance, the problem of fastening all these tiny tiles in quite intricate patterns to a ceiling way up high above you. And this was centuries before the discovery of superglue and even quick-setting cement. Amazing work. Just think about the complexity of constructing something like this way back then. Quite amazing, really. and the whole of the Alhambra was built on this high rocky bluff, safe and secure from the town down below. An impregnable fortress, really. And from these high battlements, they could see everything that was going on for miles around them. A superb fortress for sure. Pretty clearly, the Moors were also superb hydraulic engineers, with abundant flowing water everywhere on top of this huge rock on which the citadel had been built. I didn't get the whole story about this courtyard, but reading about it, it was a central meeting place with the attendees gathered around the fountain, with big decisions being made here. Just contemplate the amazing construction detail in this archway. Brilliant work. I'm not quite sure why, but for some reason this was the place that seemed to attract us back as we retraced our steps around the magnificent Alhambra. And the construction detail in this magnificent ceiling is quite beyond belief for the time it was built. A brilliant architect and superb workman to achieve such perfection. And whatever direction we took from the central courtyard and that wonderful fountain, there was another corridor with superb artwork in the arches. Every time I had a new vantage point from which to capture this magnificent artwork, I just had to roll the camera again. Sorry, but it is really worth having. Our guide is hard to understand in the following clip, which I have amplified to try and make him able to be understood. But the crux of the story is that this room is meant to be the very centre of the universe as far as the Alhambra is concerned, and that the earth is not flat, and that the sun goes right around this central point in recognition of the sun rising and the sun setting. Sounds a bit crazy, but that's the story anyhow.
They put the two heads eagle, charmed with shield that the people said, no sunset in the kingdom of Chad. Then, with the pass of the time, that shield of the two columns and the two heads eagle was part of the words of the columns like this. The end of the
Down below in the town, there was singing and dancing, and as we were to find out, this was the beginning of all the partying that was going to go on in town overnight. Wonderful.
You can get a beautiful picture history. part has a steam bathroom, immersion bathroom, and resting room. The rooms of Charles V. We have seen the black washing movie. One side, we have seen the different rooms. There were the balconies or the blind musicians were playing when the Salva was done. Remember that Two Sisters room is there, Charles V's room there, then in that then they got the best of all them. Then their own civilization and culture was in the top very good. Tell me what it is.
The Alhambra is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and the inspiration of many songs and stories. Moorish poets described it as a pearl set in emeralds, in allusion to the colour of its buildings and the woods around them. We are now exploring its adjoining parkland, called the Alameda de la Alhambra, which was planted by the Moors with roses, oranges and myrtles, plus a dense wood of English elms, brought by the Duke of Wellington in 1812. As a result, the park has a multitude of nightingales, and it is usually filled with the sound of running water from several fountains and cascades, joined with the melody from the nightingales. Actually, we didn't hear them while we were there, but we're assured that it does regularly happen. It was quite a long but delightful walk back into town, and the final part of the walk, back through these heavily clipped trees, had a wonderful backdrop of the snow-capped Sierra Nevadas. Yes, Moorish Spain has a lot to be proud of, with today's magnificent Alhambra and the wonderful parkland created so lovingly by the Moors way back in the distant past. It most certainly deserves its UNESCO Heritage rating. A magnificent place.
Aquella sí me fiaba yo. Aquella sí fue la de cocodrilo.
Now we're back into town, and partying by the locals seems to be picking up steam. The ice cream vendors were certainly doing well. It is said that the children of Andalusia are born with music and melody in their souls. I was told that this was a special training class for the younger ones. But this ice cream must come first. Mum must be there somewhere. Nearly bedtime for the youngsters. But the older ones had plenty of energy left. No one really wanted it to end, but finally it was time to head home. This delightful little girl was certainly wound up. There's no way she was going to stop yet. And somehow I think Mum will find it pretty hard to get her to bed and to get her to sleep tonight. But she was wonderful. And now it's time for us to get to bed too. It's been a long day from Madrid to this wonderful Alhambra. A beautiful sunny day in Granada next morning, but the city was quiet. Although there's some shrines still around town, with music from the night before still very much in the air. Yes, some of the shrines showed it was very much the morning after. It seemed to be almost a quiet time for reflection in this deeply religious Catholic city, but with wonderful memories of a great night the night before. Gradually, the commercial life of the city resumed as we had a look at the stall in the side streets. It was now an ideal time to quietly stroll around to have a better look at some of the magnificent religious architecture in this once Moorish city of Granada. There are some really magnificent structures from earlier times in this proudly Moorish Spanish city. But finally it was time to go and head further south to the Mediterranean. I hope to show more of this wonderful Spain in videos which will come later.